if you want to chat, add some knowledge, or you have questions, anything, just maybe raise your hand, or you can write something in the chat, and then I can you can unmute yourself and get going. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Got a little short presentation I put together on PowerPoint. I'll send this to Diana or Marvin. We'll get it on the website, get it to you guys. So don't worry about it if I go through it pretty fast. We can get that information to you, or I can send you an email, throw it on Facebook, whatever I need to do to get it in your hands. So hopefully y'all can see my screen. So we're going to be talking about block charge plays. I know when I talked in the chapter meeting, I only got about 15 minutes, and I want to try to get back into these every Sunday like we were doing in the off season. I just feel we need to see more plays, we need to talk more, and then that will make us more consistent. I think 15 minutes, 20 minutes on once a month is just not going to be enough for us. So that's why I decided to get these going. So I appreciate y'all taking your time out Sunday to jump on here, and all of us continue to get better. The agenda tonight is we're going to go over just basic principles in our rulebook. We're going to talk about what is guarding, the couple articles that focus on block charge plays, talk about legal guard position, how obviously to establish and maintain, referee the defense, but be aware of the offense, and I'll go over that. I've been talking to a lot of referees, and for y'all that know me, I this isn't all information that comes from me. Anytime I have meetings or have presentations, I reach out to a lot of mentors of mine, some that are on here and others that work at a very, very high level. And I just pick their brain, and then whatever I find consistent, which is typically most of the time from all of them is consistent, that I bring it on here for you guys. We'll talk about coverage and how we must pregame this. We're going to talk about secondary defenders. We're going to talk about strong side or middle of the paint. That would pertain to a drive from tee to leads or something that's coming right down the middle of the paint. We're going to talk about seaside drives, transition plays, and then ways we can grow and improve. And then I always talk about, Mac, you know that, but this is what we would talk about every single day on the phone, is just getting back to our fundamentals. If we can get back to our fundamentals and then understanding the system, I think that can help us just continue to be better at all aspects. Even though we're talking block charge plays today, if we just get back to that, I think that's going to fix a lot of situations we have going on in our ball games. All right, so let's dive into 423. Or get anything in the chat room, go ahead and put in there. Kenny will look out for it. This is in the rule book. I'll go through it again somewhat fast. I'm not going to continue to stuff that we should already know. I'm not even going to touch over this one. This is just the first article. I did want to talk about there's no minimum distance required between the guard and the opponent, but we obviously we didn't know the 6 feet. And then every player is entitled to a spot. And then again, we should know these things. And then it talks about a player who extends an arm, shoulder, hip, or leg into the path of an opponent is not to be considered to have legal position if contact occurs. It's basic stuff, but just to kind of, again, get back to our fundamentals. So the two actually articles I want to talk about block charge plays is going to be Article 2 and Article 3. We don't get to Article 3 if we don't even get past Article 2. And I think sometimes we get we overcomplicate it. If we can just really simplify and figure out if that defender had even obtained initial guarding position, then we don't even need to get into did they move lateral, did they not step forward, did they get to the spot, whatever. If we can just focus on this, I think we'll be okay. So the guard shall have both feet touching the playing court. That's number one. So these are and when we're going to talk about play sequence in here, how we're going to sequence plays, this will be the first thing we need to look for. We're looking at refereeing a defender on a block charge play. We need to first figure out if they have both feet touching the playing court and if the front of the guard's torso should be facing the opponent. Those two things. That's the criteria we look for. Feet touching the floor, is that torso facing their opponent? Again, if we don't have both of those, forget about it. We ain't going to worry about nothing else. It's going to be if there's contact, we're going to have obviously a blocking foul on the defense. The next one, so let's say that they do that. And most kids do. I mean, we have a lot of teams here that take a lot of charges. We have a lot of good coaches. So I think the coaches understand that they have to have their feet facing, feet on the floor and facing. But once they have, so then our next play sequence will be, okay, they've established. After that, how do they obtain it? So the guard may have one or both feet on the playing court or be airborne. So they have to, in order to have Legal, we have two. One can come off, or they can obviously be vertical and they can jump, but they have to be inbounds. I think we know this. The guard is not required to continue to facing the opponent. They have to prior, but then to obtain, they don't need to continue to face. Next one is the guard may move lateral or obliquely to maintain position, provided it's not towards. And we know this. Hopefully we know this, right? That we know they can't move forward, but they can move lateral and they can move oblique and they can retreat. The guard may raise hands or jump within his or her own vertical plane. A to A. We talk a lot about A to A. Similar on block charge plays, A to A to B. All bets are off. And the last one, the guard may turn or duck to absorb the shock of contact. And coaches may not know this one, but we need to know this one. If we can quote this one, E, because we have a lot of kids. I don't like taking charge. It hurts, especially if you're a little guard and you got a big kid coming down the paint at you. You're able to absorb. You can turn to protect yourself. Okay. Any questions on those? Again, we should know this. I just wanted to go over it, get back in our rule book and our basic fundamentals. So when I got on the phone, I talked to, again, a lot of people that I respect and have been doing this a lot longer than me. We talked a lot about refereeing the defense. So I asked, my question to those referees is, what do you look for in a block charge play, and why do you think that we miss block charge plays? Every single one of them says, I just don't think that we referee the defense well enough. Is that we get caught by surprise, we're ball watching, we're looking at the offense come down the paint, and then we get surprised by contact, or when the contact occurs, it's too late because we haven't refereed the defense, and then we just referee the crash. And I've got some clips that sometimes that happens, and for some of y'all on there, I'm sure it's happened to you or it's been a part of your crew. So we have to be more disciplined of, one, anticipating the play. I talked a lot about this with referees, is you have to anticipate a block charge play. So that would be, again, not ball watching, but having ball awareness, because you need to understand that if the ball is maybe on the other side, but it's going to end up coming in the paint, you have to understand that that kid is going to be driving towards you. That would then, you anticipate that play, you know you got to go to that closest defender, especially if you have two. I got a play later where there's two defenders, you got to go to that closest one, or the one that you think is going to hurt you the most. So we got to referee the defense. I did put awareness of offense. I got in the conversation with, I think we referee the defense so much, some of us, that we lose awareness of the offense, and we sometimes react to the defense. So there's plays where maybe the offense stops short. They don't go to and through them. They're able to slip by them, or they can do a floater and land left or right. And then we have that defender, fling their head back. And then we go, oh, I referee the defense. There's contact. And then we like to go offense. We definitely have to referee the defense more than the offense, but we cannot lose awareness of the offense. That's why I put, and then obviously anticipating the play and locating the legality of the defender. So the play sequence would be, and this is what I talked about, is one, are they legal, right? That's it. If they're not legal, we don't even need to get to 2 or 3. If they are legal, then it's number 2, did they maintain? And then you got to go 3 on the contact. Because I think sometimes that we get baited into plays, or sometimes we don't want to call it based on maybe that kid's going to score a basket, and we don't want to have an offensive foul. So that's the play sequence. Legal, 1. If they are, then we go to 2. Did they maintain? And then we're actually going to referee the play. And I put there full by the defender. I've seen a lot of clips. I've probably seen about 40, 50 clips the last 2 weeks on block charge plays. There's a high percentage on where we are getting fooled by that defender based on their reaction, right? Again, the offense is stopped short. Here they come, embellish, they flop, whatever word you like to use. Embellish is the word that we prefer to use. And where they're having whistles on plays where the offense did absolutely nothing wrong. They saw the defender, they stopped short of contact, and we're having offensive fouls, okay? So ways to grow and improve. I'm gonna dive into that later, but this is the ways that we can get better is our play sequence. There's play sequence to everything, if it's travels, if it's late closeout, on block charge plays, there's plays that we have to have our checklist and we need to sequence those, okay? Anybody want to add to it? All right, I did want to go over this because I did talk to some college referees and it's different. So that's when we got into the coverage area. I said, you know what, let me go get this right out of the manual. And it's different in some college stuff, men's, women's, and high school. So in the high school, this is the actual diagram Obviously, we got TC and lead. What we talk a lot about is that we believe everything in the paint is lead. Well, when we look at this diagram, that is not true. As you can see, the paint is split in half. And this is sometimes where we have some confusion. We don't have this line, obviously, on the court. So this way, obviously, we have to be disciplined, understand our primaries, and then we have to pregame it. So there's one thing in here that I wanted to talk about was number 8. Officials must thoroughly pregame. Okay.
Where's Brandon? Yeah, that looks so cute. Tú sabes ponerlo si quieres. A ver.
Anybody know who that is? Greg Quan, is that you?
Oh.
Hold on. I'm gonna go do something real quick. Sorry. All right. Sorry about that. I'm not sure who that was. So what I wanted to discuss is number 8 is officials must thoroughly pregame primary and secondary coverages in areas where coverages intersect. So our chapter, for as long as I've been here and someone tell me I'm wrong, we talk about secondary defenders is going to be lead. And that should be pregame consistently. If the secondary defender is in C's coverage area, which is right here, the lines, secondary defender, this needs to be lead. And this is where we sometimes fall into too many double whistles, or lead doesn't pick up the secondary defender because it's on the other side of the rim. But that's where we need to be active at lead, and we need to pregame, and we have to be highly consistent and allow lead to referee secondary defenders. And we'll jump into some clips why that is. But we have to be pre-gaming this. It says it strictly in the manual. 2-person, 3-person, doesn't matter. You need to be pre-gaming how you're going to take care of those primary and secondary coverage areas that intersect. Those are the ones that can get us in trouble, where we don't communicate and we're too fast. We don't have the discipline that we're supposed to have, and we end up having some confusion. And sometimes is when we actually get plays incorrect. Okay.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, Reggie, go ahead.
Hey, that's that. When you're talking about secondary defenders, can you expound on that? It is not constricted to block charge plays. It's secondary defenders on all plays.
Yep. Oh, yeah,
so
great
if a
point.
secondary defender is going over in the C primary to defend a play to the basket, that is still leads play. It doesn't have to be a block charge play.
Yeah, correct. And I okay, there's a clip that we have on that. It is a block charge play, but we'll go into it. That because I think a visual learning will be good on that. Is Reggie's point is if it's a secondary defender that just goes to help, it could be a verticality play, it could be hitting on the arm. It doesn't have to be a block charge play. The principles still apply, and it's a good point because I think when we talk about secondary defenders, the first thing that comes to mind is we thinking about block charge plays. Most of the time, that is what occurs. But if it's verticality plays, if it's contests at the rim, whatever it may be, yes, it's exactly the same principle as far as that secondary defenders is going to be lead. So appreciate you saying that, Reggie. That's a good point. Michael, go ahead. You raise your hand.
I wanted to just know on a secondary defender, if you do have a whistle and it's a double whistle, is it still okay to we're holding at C and at T to yield to lead, and if they don't have anything, you're taking that?
Yep, and we'll dive into that, but I'll jump in a little bit now. What we're trying to do is eliminate as many double and triple whistles as we can. All right, but if we do have double whistles, hopefully not many triples. Triple whistles usually happen on non-basketball plays, flagrant, unsporting, excessive, those type of things. That's where it says it right here on number 7. Those, there is no primary coverage. So when I look at triple whistles, most of those are going to be non-basketball plays, or the ones that sometimes go through the paint and it happens right in the middle. I think we can get away from triples. As far as doubles, yes. It used to be when I first joined, outside referees hold on double whistles or block charge plays or plays at the rim. It's got to where everybody needs to hold, even lead, even though it's your play and it's a secondary defender, and we still need to slow down, everybody hold, have preliminary signals, and then communicate. and then hopefully the right referee takes it. But I'm gonna touch on something later that our crew did yesterday that I think may help you with that, Michael, as well. But yeah, good point. Absolutely, we need to do that. Yeah, Marshall said 8 is a great point pregame. Yep. So yeah, that's it. This is right out of the manual number 8, high school, with that we have to pregame this. I don't know if we're pregaming enough. So everybody on here, if you're a crew chief or not a crew chief, you go to your next game and this is not brought up. This needs to be brought up. You need to say, hey, can we talk about, dual coverage areas or secondary coverage or where the coverage intersects? I'd like to go over that. And that could be on 3-point shots. It could be on block charge plays. It could be passing crashes, drives to the basket, seaside drives, strong side drives. Doesn't matter, but this is something that we need to be pre-gaming every single game. Because like I said, I've seen 40, 50 block charge plays the last 2 weeks. And we're just not very consistent on what we're doing. We're not getting our plays right. We have way too many whistles on plays, a lot of confusion, wrong referees taking plays to the table that don't have the play the longest, those type things. So yes, absolutely. Anybody want to touch on it? I hear someone unmute themselves.
Yeah, this is Marshall.
Hey, man.
How y'all doing, everybody? Hope everybody's staying safe and happy holidays and all that good stuff. This is one of those cultural things as far as a chapter on how we're going to handle this. The double whistle thing, I'm not sure where they're saying that in high school as far as they want double whistle. I haven't heard that in any clinics or anything, but I understand what you're talking about. The thing about
Marshall, repeat what you said. I didn't hear that.
That's why he said.
Whoever has their family there speaking in Spanish, please mute yourself.
It's a Sam.
Everybody else, Mark?
Won't let me do it. I'm trying to mute him right now. Hold on. All right, go ahead. It was Sam.
Yeah, and I just wanted 2 points. Kenny, the first thing I was saying was, where was that brought up at the UIL level that they're trying to eliminate double whistles at the high school level? Now, if that's a chapter thing, I understand that. Secondly, the pregame is very important on this play, and it's a cultural thing. I know we're talking about pregaming it, but if we get consistent as a chapter on how we're going to handle those plays, that would help as far as who's going to take those plays, especially on seaside drives where, lead may be on the other side of the paint. The problem with C taking that play, and this is just from a positioning aspect. One, if it's a secondary defender, it's going to be very hard for C to pick that defender up to know whether they were there or not, legal or not legal, as you were stating. And then second, you don't have the open look when you're coming down from C on the fast break, or it's very hard to get there, put it that way. And lead's going to know more or less whether that person got there or not. To Michael's, and this is my last point, Michael's comment, I do think we still do need to blow and hold from the outside just because the emotion of the play and it's coming towards lead, and communication is the key on that play, because the worst thing that can happen is no whistle. So I know we're trying to implement cadence, but if we get caught up in cadence and we stop having whistles at all, it puts us in a worse position. Thank you.
Yeah, good points. We got clips to go over, Marshall, so we'll go over them. We can dive into that, absolutely, because I went over all of them, it's different based on seaside drives, transitions, all those things. So that's what we're going to dive into and talk on coverage on those. So good points.
So Mark,
yeah, Kenny, go ahead.
I just want to just touch a little bit about what Marshall was saying, but I've watched a lot of film over the last 3 weeks, and the big difference is we have no discipline. Our whistle discipline, our getting off the plays has been really, really weak, especially at the trail position. Still refereeing plays that have left them miles and have left them, and then they end up with a double whistle. So those are the things that I'm seeing that's really a real pattern, and as it's consistent from in game to game, that people are not just being not that we don't want double whistles, but we want just patience. And respecting or understanding, because I think that's what's really happening, is that maybe people aren't understanding what their coverage area is and how to let go of plays. So maybe that's something we can talk, maybe Reggie and you guys can talk about how to let go of a play. What do you do to move on to the next, your next mission, your next responsibility? I'm out.
Okay. And we'll dive into those when we get to the clips. Yeah, but just to piggyback on that, we definitely want whistles, Marshall. That wasn't where we were going with that. With Michael, is I understand the whistle is the most important thing. The problem is we're having double whistles on contact when it's clearly left trail. It's in the paint, secondary defender. We got a crash. Lead has all the information. Sometimes trail is blowing before lead. That just tells them we don't have any discipline, any self-talk. It's just like, I'm just following that all the way in. Nothing wrong with staying with it, but you also have responsibility with the primary defender on the backside if you've got a hit or a push, or maybe that player may travel prior to the block charge, those things. I think we're just, we're working very deep. I know we had a really good review from DDR talking about like they told us that at trail we're working really, really deep into the paint. Like we're following plays way into the paint, and they said we need to be careful with those because we're jumping on plays out of primary. So I think the cadence is what we need to work on, some self-discipline. I'm not saying double whistles are bad, don't get it wrong. I just think that if we can, I personally believe from a teaching standpoint and from all the games that I've watched and a little kind of exercise we did this yesterday in our game, is moving to this shift, trying to have more single whistles or allowing better whistle discipline, allowing lead to have plays in their primary may actually eliminate us getting plays wrong. And that's what I'm trying to get to. I just want us to get plays right, and we're struggling right now in the first 3 weeks on that. So this is a trend that we see. And Kenny's been watching a lot of film as well, so that's what we kind of talked about. All right, so next one, drives to the basket. So this is again right out of the manual, and this is situations we also have to pregame, but it's also kind of the things that Marshall kind of touched on is when a player with the ball starts to drive to the basket, you need to continue to stay with that. No matter if it goes into leads lap, if it goes across into centers, if we're talking 3-person, if the ball moves into someone else's primary average current, you need to stay with it, especially if you got an on-ball count, we know that, but that's yours until it's released. And then we talked about passing crashes. I don't know if people were pre-gaming this, officials are pre-gaming this, but lead needs to stay with the crash. Outside referees, depending on what side it's on, needs to stay with the direction of the basketball. All right, so again, this is right out of the manual. I just wanted to throw it in there. Kenny, anything on that in the chat? I can see people talking. We're good, I think. Okay, you're good. All right, so let's talk about secondary defenders. And I know we're talking block charge, but I touched on it earlier to Reggie's point. Don't have to be block charge. It's just a secondary, a help defender that's coming over. Have to be pregame. We talked about that. So this is what I put for us, for our chapter, all right? And there's nothing coming from UIL, all right? I think we do a lot of training based out of other chapters in Texas. So what I put on here is if we have primarily with cadence from outside referees, we're talking block charge plays in leads primary, we should have the primary whistle from the lead on a secondary defender with cadence from outside officials. And we talked about that with Michael, that may answer your question. The cadence is the word, not having our whistles go the same time that we have a crash or we have something at the paint where it's a secondary defender. This is lead. Lead's going to have all the information. They're going to be able to referee that defender from the start all the way through to the finish. They're going to have them the longest, and that's going to be their closest defender. They should have all the information. The cadence is hopefully if there is no whistle, that's the cadence. Now, if it's tweet, that's okay. But the double whistles at the same time, I think is something that we need to, again, have better discipline and get away from that. But also have an understanding, I know that's leads primary. If they don't have a whistle, then I can come with a secondary cadence and get the play right. Nothing wrong with that. Again, I was just saying that we're having so many double whistles or sometimes outside referees blowing prior to lead on secondary defenders, okay? It's not consistent as a chapter, not consistent at all. Some crews are doing it, some are not. So this is something that we need to work on. We're having way too many double whistles in the plays in the paint on block charge plays. So secondary defenders, that was just say that wasn't. This is strictly on block charge plays. We're having so many double whistles, which leads to a lot of confusion. Here's my personal opinion. I'd love to hear from the group. Okay.
Yeah, I got a comment, but I'll
Okay,
wait
hold
for
on.
somebody.
Okay. Okay. So here's my opinion on block charge plays. If I'm at lead and I have a block charge play, I have the secondary defender, and then there's the contact, I have the play. Doesn't matter what I'm going to go, block or charge, I have the whistle. I come up with my whistle, and now I have Trail C that also has a whistle. That then confuses myself at lead, because now I have to stop and then have, because I don't want to come out quick, right? We have to have good patience and hold our signal. And then you look at your trail or your center, and then you have the confusion, and then sometimes they take it, or, oh, go ahead, take it. Or then we just have absolute confusion, and then we communicate, boom, and then we go, and then the credibility of the crew just doesn't look as strong as it is, as opposed to just allowing lead to have a single whistle on a block charge play and come out and have no hesitation, still be patient, not telling you come out fast, because I've seen so many clips where we've had double whistles on plays, or trail comes early to get it, and we're getting them wrong. That's the biggest thing. We're getting plays wrong because they're coming from the wrong referee. My personal opinion is I think we need to have more single whistles on block charge plays, secondary defender, let lead have those plays. And if they don't, then an outside referee can come in. The cadence would love to be lead, center, trail, because trail's furthest from the play. That would be ideal. But I just think all the clips I've seen, like I said, 40 or 50 over the last 2.5 weeks, I think if we eliminate those double whistles, I think that it will just help us let lead, no confusion, just let them referee the play straight up and let them have their call, whatever it may be. That's my personal opinion. Now, for referees in there that have had double whistles or single whistles or have been at lead, I know some referees in there, I've seen you on film, where you've had a block charge play taken from you, or you've blown from trail, and then maybe lead gives it to you and end up getting everything kind of in shambles. I'd like to hear from you guys on what your philosophy is. If you agree with that, disagree, I'd love to hear from you. I just wanted to put that out there for a discussion for the group.
Can I take one point real quick?
I thought you just said that you were going to let someone go.
Yeah, let somebody else go, and then I'll. I'm
okay.
sorry. Let me get off. I'm sorry.
You good? Go. Okay. Someone else go. Otherwise, that Marshall and Reggie going to have to speak. Okay. So let's hear from someone else that this has happened to. Go ahead.
I had a game Saturday a week ago where I was at C, transition play, block charge play, going to the basket, and I jumped on it. I shouldn't have. Double whistle, and lead had it all the way, and saw my hand up, hesitated for the call, and then he held. And at some point, we got to make a call. I ended up taking it, didn't need to. We had the same call. It was an obvious play, but the point is that it caused confusion where we didn't need to have any. Had I held off, we would have had a much better presentation as a crew. And it was one of the first times that I really felt that, oh man, I really should have stuck off that. And we would have had more confidence for the crowd, for the coaches, for the players. It just would have come together a whole lot better.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Matthew. I know the play. I've seen it. So I appreciate you you sharing that with us. Anyone else? Does anybody disagree with this, that we shouldn't have more single whistles that lead and we need more? We're good with double whistles on block charge plays, secondary defenders.
I think I agree with you, Mark. You know, a single whistle sure would clean up a lot of that confusion when you're both just staring at each other with your hands sticking straight in the air. And then I don't know when it happens to me, and then they point and say, you got it, now I got it, now I got to regroup, I got to catch the number, I got to make sure I got the right repointing the right number. And it is a sense of confusion, whereas if you have the only whistle, it is much easier to keep a more clear, concise presentation to the table, and there's no confusion amongst the crew. But I can see your point where that single whistle does help.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
Way. But I will say this about Trail. If Trail should discipline themselves as far as plays under the basket, I have no whistle unless it's a high expectancy call and nobody blew, and that definitely should be a cadence. Other thing about double whistles, and you haven't brought it up, and probably the Bills, Bickies, and other folks around may agree. Like I said, I can go either way. But the outside official blowing and holding also endorses the whistle of the lead official. That was part of the philosophy behind double whistles, was if you just blow and hold, it always gave the impression that the outside official was endorsing the play, so that it was two whistles on the play as opposed to one. Now that may be going away, but I don't know how we rectify that. And then lastly, if we go this route, which I'm cool with, because I'm a pretty aggressive official for me personally, but you have to have courage to come in there and blow the whistle if lead passes on the play. Now that's easier said than done. And, you know, if you do a self-talk or a self-analysis, I think we've all been there, but some of us more than others. But you got to have the courage to come in and blow the whistle from Trail in cadence, or from C in cadence.
Yeah, and me and Marshall actually talked about this when we were at Blossom, I think it was. And I get the where it used to be the double whistles and it would show that the crew, but here's the issue I'm having is we're not also, a lot of plays I'm seeing, they're different plays. And there's confusion, or that they're blowing a whistle before lead even giving lead an opportunity to get it. And I truly believe, when I can just tell by body language, it doesn't look like Trail and lead are having the same call. So if we were consistent enough where it looks like to Matthew's point, yeah, I saw that clip. They did have the same one, but you wouldn't know that on film. You'd be like, what's going on? For me, my personal opinion, I've seen so many coaches also that want to start jumping on the Trail referee. You don't have that. I know you don't have that one because you have a whistle. And I'm seeing it where the confusion comes in, and now coaches are like, no, y'all got that wrong. But if a single whistle comes out and boom, and we go, then that coach is going to talk to one referee. I'm seeing double whistles on block charge plays where the coach now thinks that we have different calls, and it turns into a absolute meltdown. And I'm seeing it consistently over and over again. And I don't want to say this in a disrespect, right? Don't get this wrong. At the higher levels, we talk about college and men's and women's and pros and NBAs. Those are different caliber referees, right? We're just not as good as them. We never will be as good as them, right? So I don't know if this is easier or harder for us. My opinion, from watching a ton of film and being out there watching games, I think it's easier for our chapter to have single whistles at lead. I really think it's easier for us to do that. And I think our call accuracy will get higher. That's where I went with this trend. I'm not saying it's right. It's not coming from UIL. This is just something I wanted to discuss in our chapter. The single whistles I've seen based on the double whistles, the accuracy, I don't have the stats, but I'm pretty sure our accuracy is way higher when we allow lead to just referee that play straight up. That's what I'm seeing as a trend for the last whatever weeks we've been going. Bill, I'd love to hear from you. Unmute yourself, Bill.
It's a very confusing issue, particularly I would think for, say, officials starting out, because as one of your slides depicted, word for word, the Trail official takes the player all the way to the basket.
We're talking secondary though, Bill, right? Secondary.
Well, wait a minute. Let me finish, please.
Yep.
Okay. That's also contingent upon your lead official being an active official and being at his proper position from close down to actual movement, say from that close down position, right? So we must be careful, because we may have some of us are taking a look and saying, well, is it apples and oranges? Or how do we get the mix through there based on everything that has been written and put in for coverage. That's the only concern I have, say, as one who's been involved with the training of officials, where you get the perplexed look that, well, what is it? And then if you're having people take the initiative and go to camps and they're outside of our purview, right? How confusing could they be after attending that, where there's a total different philosophy? And the philosophy is what the actual verbiage in the book is and the actual drawings in the book are. And where a secondary defender hasn't received the importance that we're discussing. That's
Yeah,
all. Thank you.
great points. I look at it, so I knew this would come up because I knew, Bill, you'd be on here, and I had a feeling like being doing this for a while that we would get back into what used to be before I was around, and many of us were. I don't think we're changing anything in the rule book, and I'm not trying to do that. How I read it is that if a play starts in your primary and continues to go to the rim or to someone else's primary, that you stay with that player. I don't think there's anything that we're not saying you don't do that. If you have a drive from trail to lead, primary defender could be on the left, the right, the back, whatever. You're going to follow that primary defender. It talks in the manual about secondary to coverages. You must pregame. I know in SLBOA, as long as I've been around, that we say lead takes secondary defenders. So when I look at the manual, I look at what we do as a chapter. I don't think we're changing anything. We're talking that trail needs to stay off that play and stay with the primary defender from a trip, a hit from behind, whatever, possibly a travel, like I said. But the secondary defender needs to be refereed by the lead. That's how I'm looking at in the manual and how we've always had secondary defenders lead in SLBOA. That's how I'm reading it. Someone tell me I'm off on this one, but I don't think that we're changing anything or any confusion in the manual to fit what maybe make our car accuracy better. I'm not trying to do that.
And yeah, so I agree with that. And I was going to say the same thing, because if you look at the book doesn't, it says primary coverage. So you should be in your primary coverage. Guys, I think we have to get to the film, because I think what we're discussing will show itself in film. We are, even on those plays where you have the primary, official on that play, then we end up with lead with a whistle, with that one-on-one matchup from outside to inside. It's telling me, and once you see these plays, it's discipline and positioning. And I think positioning more than discipline, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have to start looking at what we're doing. I think just talking about this, we are not getting away from the manual. We're doing what the manual says.
Can I
Hey,
have
Kenny.
one comment before you go to the film, Kenny?
Marshall, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Reggie.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to get back to, and I think Matthew made a great point. And I just want to get back to what Matthew was talking about in reference to confusion when you have double whistles. And I would just like to, and this is in conjunction with what Mark was talking about with pregame. If we adhere to and commit to as a crew to what we discussed in pregame, i.e. that secondary defenders are leads, right? And we commit to that, and we go out on the court and we have a double whistle with lead and C or T. If we commit to what we discussed in pregame, we automatically know who has that block charge or secondary defender play. So there's no need to have a discussion saying you take it or I got it. We don't have to have that discussion. We already know, according to our pregame, that the lead has that call. So there's no need for a look. There's no need for you got it, I got it. Lead is going to take it. If there is a point in the game where we are confused and C or T feels like it's taking too long and they do take it, then we need to reiterate to each other at the next dead ball or timeout that as a crew, lead is going to take that call. So those I got it, you got it, should only happen one time. And I just wanted to reemphasize that.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna go over these 2 slides and then we'll get in the clips and we'll start talking. All right. So here's what I put. So we're talking secondary defenders in a half court set. We have block charge play. That's what we're talking about. Secondary defenders, leads primary, center would have secondary cadence. We got a clip on that, right? Still referee your primary defender out. So we got center side drive. These are seaside drives. I'm sorry. Seaside drive, beat the primary defender. We have block charge play. Secondary defender lead. Center has a cadence, but they still need to referee that defender that they just beat on the perimeter. Transition plays are totally different. We're gonna go over these, but I just want to go over them real quick. If play originates on center side and finishes on center side, we had that diagram. That's center's play. It's their primary. Okay, we talked about all defenders being secondary defenders in transition. So where it's different in transition, we've got to pregame these. It's different. Again, the play originates on center side, goes to the basket on center side. That's center's play. Okay. If play comes right down the middle, all right, right pregame this. This is down the middle. It's not the center side. It's transition. This would be the leads primary. We have a clip on this one as well. Okay. These are pregame discussions. And to Reggie's point, we just got better pregames, man. I hear a lot of pregames. Maybe we need to talk more about this because I know a lot of really good referees have great pregames. We need to start talking plays in pregame. All right. We don't need to be talking too much about other type things. That's another discussion. Maybe that's another Zoom meeting on what we should be talking about. We don't get very long, especially because a lot of us doing back-to-back games like crazy or JV games and varsity games. We got to have really good information, and it will clean up a lot of these things that we're discussing. The improvements, and Kenny beat me to it. He hasn't seen this though. Its positioning is number 1. In order to get block charge plays right, that's what we're talking about. But of course, any play right. But let's just dive into block charge. Positioning is number 1. Our play sequencing, when I went over earlier, how we're going to sequence that play will help us. Obviously, if we know rules, helps us with our judgment. Getting your rule books, understand legal guard position, how you can maintain it, obtain it, whatever, you're good. Seeing the whole play, right? Let that play start, develop, finish, have a patient whistle. Don't react on the crash, the contact. We're reacting based on the crash. We're going to let the play finish, then determine what you want to do. More whistle discipline. Need more single whistles, in my opinion. That's what I'm going to put. Trust the system. Get back to our fundamentals. Okay. I'm going to leave you what we did yesterday because I knew this. We had a good crew yesterday. We're at Central Catholic. And I said, you know what? I want to do this. I want to do this challenge for us. Let's just try this out so then I can relay it to the group today. I said, I challenged our crew today. Let's try to have as many single whistles as we can. Try to eliminate as many double whistles as we can. And let's just see how it goes. So this is how the game went. First play, I have a block charge play at lead. We have a double whistle, myself and center. I gave them a look. We laughed, kind of smiled about it. We pressed on. Later in the quarter, we had another play, we had a double whistle. We laughed, we smiled about it, whatever. We're professional. We didn't have another double whistle until 2 minutes left in the game. So we had 2 double whistles in the first 2 minutes of the game. Rest of that first half, the rest of the third quarter, we had I think it was a travel. I think we had a double whistle. It was kind of a blatant travel, and then they just came late. But whatever, we ended up getting the play right. But that was it. We had 3 double whistles in the entire game, and we talked about it in the locker room. And the referee that doubled with me twice said it was hard for them. And they're a good referee. They're a seasoned referee. They said, "Yep, I gotta have better discipline. I'm too quick on plays. I don't need to get those. You were right there. You could have had them." And I felt personally, and the crew did, we felt like the game went really well based on we just allowed and we trusted the system. We allowed referees to get their plays. And it ended up, I think I talked to Kenny after the game, and somebody was like, the fouls, it's not always going to be like this, but it kind of got spread out between everybody. You know, I mean, there's plays where that's not always going to happen in games where it keeps happening, right? You want to be a great partner. Hopefully your co-official's not having all the plays, but it doesn't always happen. But that kind of worked out for us. I was really happy with the way the game went. Wasn't a competitive game, but mechanically sound. I thought we really trusted each other, and I thought it went really well. And they both said, yeah, I think we need to continue this. It was kind of a trial, just something to change. And I don't know if it's so much of a change, but just a culture shift to see what it was. I thought it went really well. If it was an absolute disaster, I would have shared that with you today. So I'm not saying that this is what we need to do, but I did want to share it with you. I think we can start doing these type things. I know a lot of you have been to camp where the coordinator says, hey, don't blow out a primary in the first half and those type things. Non-basketball plays and those type things we have to get. Big obvious travels, big things. I'm not saying that, but just basketball plays. I think if we just allow referees to referee their plays, I think we'll be better. I think our accuracy will go up. That's my personal opinion. Okay.
Mark, can I say something?
Yeah. Hey, Mario.
Hey, I'm a new official and this is my second year, and I've really worked hard at staying away from a double whistle. And you're right, it takes a lot of discipline. But I've noticed that, and we're put with officials that have been around, 5, 6, 10 years, and I can tell you that I have not seen any of them in any of your training classes. Okay, and I get more double whistles from them when I'm the lead. They're calling plays in my area. But you're saying something that if we were serious about what we're doing and how much better, obviously you and Kenny work with us all the time, it'd be nice to see them on this training classes, because what you're saying is us 37 people that were on here, we're learning, but you have what, 290 people? And the people that you've put me with, I called one game, and I'm not going to tell you where it was at, but we had 18 fouls the first half. I called 4 of them, and probably about 7 of those was when I was lead. He called them, and I'm there like, did he see it or was he guessing? And he'd been calling games he'd been doing this for 11 years. So, what you and Kenny do is, I think it's fantastic. But, we need 220 people on here to be talking the same thing, because you're teaching 37 of us, minus you and Kenny or Bill there, what you expect from us. So we go out there, and obviously we're trying to create this discipline in ourselves not to blow that whistle, and all of a sudden you blow it, and then you blow it, but your trail is already blowing a whistle, and the play's right in front of you. So I understand, and I love your training and everything, but God, it'd be nice to have 200 people on here all learning the same thing, because like I said, you put us with these older officials, and they attend no training. And, we're the only ones that learning, and we're the only ones that getting it through our heads. So when we go to this game, and it doesn't matter sometimes how much you pregame, they're still going crazy. And 18 fouls in a half was a little excessive. I thought he was a little too aggressive. He must have called like 6 or 7 in my PCA. So, it gets kind of out of line. It gets kind of on the line. I guess my only complaint is, God, it'd be nice to have 240 people on here listening to what you're preaching, because if 37 of us or 35 of us or 34 of us who are training here are the only people that are listening to you, that's 37, and then you're going to pit us with 37 partners when we go out there. What are we gaining from this?
Well,
that's all I have to say.
Mario, amen to that, right? But here's my kind of rebuttal to that with you, all right? So I learned this a long time ago, and I tell myself every day, and my wife's always on me, she says, why do you care so much? Like, the people on here, that's all I care about, right? The other 200 people, I just whatever, right? You hope they join, you hope they get passionate about refereeing. I've come to learn over the years, not everybody's as passionate about that as us people on this call. Right? There's not a day I don't go by about talking to someone on this call about plays or rules or situations, right? And there's nothing that's expected of them to be doing this, right? I just care about you guys that jump on here that want to get better and learn from all of our veterans on here that want to give back. It's going to take time. All right. That's what it is. But we can't stop. We just got to keep moving and moving. It'll get to a point where if you're not on these meetings, then there's something wrong with you, right? That's the change to it, right? You're not on those Zoom meetings you're not on the Facebook page, you're not doing that. And also, when they don't do the training, they will get exposed. Unfortunately, they're going to get exposed. And all we can do is just try to push this as much as we can. I mean, it's free, it's out there, it's easy. They can go look at it on YouTube, they can go to Facebook. I mean, it's so out there. And I know a lot of people wish they had this 30 years ago when they were going up, right? Is what it is, Omar. I appreciate your comments, and you also need to make phone calls. You need to make phone calls after games. If referees are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you don't have to call Marvin and complain about it. Just say, hey, I worked with this individual. All the training I've done over the last few months, I just don't feel this referee was doing what we've been preaching. I just want to relay that information and let Marvin, Henry, and those guys handle it, right? I'm not saying get rid of games, but maybe the phone call from them, hey, we got Zoom meetings, we got this, maybe we can gut them on. It's just one game at a time. That's all we can do, though. But Mario, I do appreciate that. All right, let's jump into clip number 1. Hopefully you looked at these. Hopefully they don't lag or whatever. But we'll go over them, show them a few times, and then we'll talk. And then these are block charge plays. This is the Seaside Drive. We can dive into it. I wanted to get done by 7. We're not. Let's try to spend 5 or 6 minutes on each one. All right. I got to go have dinner with my wife. She's going to kill me. All right. So let's just try to go through these pretty quick if we can. If we need to do a block charge session 2, we can do it. All right. I definitely don't want to rush through it where we're not getting the right information out. But let's just try not to repeat over and over again if we can. All right. Here we go. And I'll slow it and point of contact, all that, but we'll go. Again, hopefully you looked at these. All right, so one more time, and I'll go. We'll do it from here. Okay. I've seen these a lot, so I'll break down some things real quick, and then if you want to add something to it, okay? I'm not gonna talk about judgment right away, all right? Let's talk about the lead. We've got to put our crew in the best situation to get plays right, okay? So we know on this one, we can see that right here, we do not want to rotate on drives, quick steals, or shots, right? Here's a drive and a kick out. We need to stop, all right? So it's fine if lead wanted to pinch the paint. They have not completed the rotation. We do not want to go over. We need lead to continue to back out. So that's number 1. If lead would have backed out, that'd have been fine. We have 2 referees on the strong side. That would have helped this situation. Now lead is here refereeing this play. Now they're not refereeing through the paint. Positioning is number 1. We're out of position to see plays. And I think Marshall touched on this. This is a hard coverage area for for lead to get a secondary defender outside the paint on C side. It is. If they were strong side, it's a lot easier to get this play and get the legality of the defender. However, let's talk mechanically coverage-wise. Number 15 right here, black, that's center's primary defender. They have to stay with 15. If we have a foul, a trip, a hit, a push, whatever, or if we had a travel on that offensive player, that's center's primary. So center has to stay with 15, okay? Secondary defender, help side defender, that's going to be lead. So lead actually has this defender the longest. If we see where the defender comes from middle of the paint from lead. Lead needs to be looking at number 3. They're not. They're looking at the ball. All right. So we need to be looking. The eyes need to shift to that secondary defender number 3. We've heard it from DDR, NBA referees. Who's the next defender that can hurt me? Don't need to worry about 15. Don't need to worry about the ball handler. Center has that play. We need to go to the next defender that can hurt us, which is number 3. Okay. We have the crash. We have a whistle. We have them go the same time. We can obviously see that both of them do not have a preliminary signal. We need to have one fist up. Both of them have gone right to blocks. You can see it, right away. This is a big no-no because by rule, let's just say that lead had punched it. Now we have a double foul. By rule, we have a double foul. We have to report both fouls. So we have to be mechanically sound. We have to be very patient. And I think Michael asked about earlier, we have to hold no matter where we are. Lead, trail, centered, on block charge plays, any play. Hold and then slow down, process the play, and then communicate. So here we've got double whistles on the point of contact on the foul. All right. Center has to be more disciplined on this. We talk about center's look, center has back. Center has 15's back and 4. There's no way that center has all the information that lead does. Okay. Now, if lead does not have a whistle, absolutely, center would come with a cadence, secondary cadence. And if nothing there's nothing wrong with trail coming last to come and get this. Trail may have some information over there. They have absolutely nothing. They may have seen the legality of that defender. But that's why we need to stay off this play at center. Let lead take it. I don't want to get too much into judgment on this. My personal opinion is it's a charge and play a control foul, and we end up going block. I think we go block based on it's a guess, based on positioning, and we don't have a good look at this defender. That's what I got. Anybody want to add something different to it?
Can I please jump in, Mark?
Absolutely, yep.
Can we go back to the start?
Sure.
And I put this in the chat, but I want them to see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Go back at the top. Okay,
Right
you
there.
see where the lead is? Oh, stop. Hold on.
Yeah.
Go back to the top. Every time we break down film, we got to look at positioning. So you see where the lead is. Okay. Now play it and stop it at the lane line, his nearest lane line. Keep going. Stop. Okay. This is where lead should pause. He should pause. There should always be a pause in between a rotation. That signals the crew that a rotation is about to happen. Okay. This lead continues nonstop from that home position all the way to the forward close down position. There is no hesitation. This is what puts the crew in a bad position. Had he paused at the lead, like Mark said, that rotation would have never happened. And like Mark said, he would have been in a good position to referee the play. I'm not going to talk about the block charge. We need to emphasize positioning, just like what Kenny said. Positioning kills us nine times out of 10. That's
Agreed.
it, Mark.
Yeah, agreed. And you made me say something as well. So another thing that we need to be better at, and I got this from a mentor of mine, we need to rotate from close down to close town. What Reggie's saying is that look where we're rotating from home base. We can't be going from wide or home base and rotating. So yeah, we need to get to here, close down or pinch to paint, then we can rotate. So it's a good point. We do this a lot. We absolutely do this a lot where we're walking really fast or we're running, we're late, or we're not being disciplined to that. So that's a really good point. Anything else want to add to it? We're not going to get to judgment on that one. Okay. But we see, right, that if positioning is everything, just you go from one side to the other side, it can really hurt you. Because I know, I truly believe this. It is lead with a staged strong side and not rotated. I think we get this play right. I really do. Okay. Next one. Or I won't say right, we have better information on it. All right. Okay. I wanted to talk about closest defender on this one. I'll go through some stuff and then feel free to add anything I miss. All right. So here. Okay. So we're talking about discipline, or everything we've talked about. We have a drive from center side drive. And then we ends up right in the middle of the paint. We have two defenders, right? So, and I can talk about this play because this is me at lead. So we have a crash and then lead holds. We don't really have a hold or a fist from center and they immediately come out and punch. Okay, this is where we have to be disciplined. This isn't, I'm okay with a double whistle on this play because there's two defenders and myself and the center referee, we talked about it. All right. At lead, the closest defender to me, I took number 2. This was the defender I picked up. Center picked up this one. This is what the prime example when we react to what? The crash. We react to this one. I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. He came out quick. I wish if he would have held, I was gonna come with number 2 was illegal. Number 2 pushed him into the other one. I have number 2 pushing 24, not staying legal into the crash. And we talked about this. Talked about this at halftime. I believe this happened in the first half. It did, yeah. We talked about this at halftime, all right? And the center referee was, well, that player got ran over. I said, absolutely. Do you know how they got ran over? No, I don't. Okay, so that was it right there. I sent this play to center. Oh, I didn't see that, all right? This is where there's a high anxiety play. We have to just really have discipline. Don't blow on contact, okay? Now, if there's nothing that comes from lead, absolutely you need a whistle on it. And I would not be surprised if we had exactly the same call based on the final product where the kid just pancakes him straight over. But we had something that happened prior, all right? If outside would have held, we get this play right. He's already gone. He's too deep. He's gone in. I'm not y'all may say something different. For me, I can't come in and say, hey, maybe I could have actually thinking about it. I'd like to hear from some veterans on that. What you think about me coming out and saying, no, I had a foul on 2 first that caused him to go into that play. What do y'all think about that, or anything else I missed on this?
Hey, Mark, and guys, I apologize, but I just want to say just one quick thing, Mark.
Yep.
Go back to the top as you're trying to initiate a rotation. You see where you are right there? Stay there. Don't back out.
At
You can
pinch.
stay. By you backing out, you're moving away from the play. So
Yeah,
just if you're pinched and you're in between the rotation and contact, stop, stay, and just referee the play.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to add something that
Go
was
ahead.
different than what was stated. Great point, Reggie. Great point, Mark. Only thing I'm gonna say, if you do come out and call something that is not obvious to everyone, like the push that you're talking about, which is cool because that's your play to make that adjudication, you've got to communicate it in a way that not got to, but I strongly suggest you communicate it in a way that they understand that you had that first before the contact. Because what everybody else sees is the run over. The 2 things that you keep harping on that's vital is mechanics and positioning. Mechanics and positioning. Every time you have a play that's come up, the 2 things y'all keep going back to, which is great, is mechanics and positioning. If trail just holds, then it gives you the opportunity to do what you need to do.
Yep.
And then y'all could talk about it at halftime on what you saw. If you come out and have that discussion about that play, y'all credibility is going to go down anyway because y'all discussing that play. And that's where the system has to work. Thank you.
Yep, good points. Anyone else?
Yeah, just a point to what Marshall was saying is, but I'm okay with if we have to have a discussion, but we get the play right. Right? To me, that's more. We may look a little off, but we never had the opportunity even to communicate on this play. So I think, Marshall, I agree with you there, but I also think that I'd rather us communicate and get it right than not communicate and get it wrong. Which again, I would just live with my partner's play. We would just be talking about mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. It would be very hard after he's shown what he's shown for you to come back and say, we're going to change this to a block. Your game will go downhill from there. It would be hard to recover from that play if you change.
That's why
it.
I asked. Yep, that's why I asked, and that was going through my mind. We're too deep. I'm just gonna go, but I wanted to ask. But yeah.
Hey, Mark,
thanks,
can
Reggie. Good point.
I jump in?
Sure.
Can I jump in on this real quick?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Marshall and I don't agree on everything for sure. I'm surprised he hasn't blocked me from his list of officials. But like this, to me, I agree with Marshall, and this appears to be an obvious charge call, the run through, and from the sort of sake of the game, whether 2 created that contact or not, it looks from a judgment perspective. I like the call from C, but the question is that I have that I don't know the answer to is like 24 here is trying to split 2 defenders potentially. Like there's not enough space for him to get through. By rule, there has to be enough space, and all of that contact is due to him trying to get through those 2 defenders. What is your thought on that?
One, where does it say in the rule book that there has to be space? I'd love for you to send me that. I haven't heard of that. And here there is space for him to go. Now, I understand if there's a window where he's forcing himself in, that's not there, but there's clearly a window right there. He sees the window, that he's entitled to go there. I have 2 closing that gap and becoming illegal here. But I'm good with the
fair enough
with the run over. That's the elephant in the room. Everybody sees it, right? My biggest concern on this is mechanically, center has to stay off this play or hold. And I'm okay with a double whistle on this one. But they have to hold and then communicate, because if we don't and we immediately go to it, then to Kenny's point, we don't get this play right or even have an opportunity to try to get it right because he's already 100% in. There's no turning back. So on these ones, we just got to be more patient. Mechanically, we have to be better, and we have to communicate as well.
Got it.
It's a high anxiety play, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So we had a question in the chat.
Yep.
So who in here we are in the zone. And so when we talk about primaries and secondaries, what are we talking about in a zone?
Yeah, so here's how I look at it, and someone can tell me different. Like I said, I have two defenders that lead. I went to two because I felt like they were in the middle paying close to me, and I felt like center would have a better look at the kid that actually ends up getting run over. So my eyes went to two because I saw him move first as well. So when I came across, I saw two trying to close that gap. So my eyes went to two. I felt like that was my primary defender, and that center would take the one on the crash. Also, because that defender starts on center side. That's how I broke it down as far as when I was in the game. Anybody else want to touch on that different?
I
Yeah,
think
go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, Rich.
Mark. You take the nearest defender to you, and C takes the nearest defender to him. I think you guys got that right. I also believe that these are multiple secondary defenders. And I agree with Matt that this is a player control foul. I think your play is not a seeable play. And I agree with Marshall that had the center go preliminary signal first, that would have been better. And had you not backed up, he would have been able to see you with the whistle. But by you backing up, it's like you're lessening your play.
That's good points. Yep.
Good point.
Yep.
Yeah, and
So,
also
yeah.
to answer the question about the zone, remember, everybody is entitled to their space on the floor. So that's how you have to think when you're picking up these plays, is that space theirs? So that's what you're looking for in zones.
And also in the zone, you're not guarding somebody, but those are still secondary defenders because he went past the guy at the top, if that's what the individual was asking. Those are still secondary defenders.
Hey, Mark, I have something real quick.
Hey, man. What's up, John?
Doesn't necessarily just pertain to this play, but just officiating as a whole when it comes down to mechanics and discipline. Not just refereeing our plays and seeing what our plays have, or what we have in our own primary coverage areas, but also knowing where our partners are on the court and where they're actually looking on the court as we blow or before we blow. And knowing that inside of our head as we're running through our processing our plays will help you establish a more patient whistle, or will let you know whether you need to go out and go get something immediately because you know that your partner's in an area that he can't see. And I just think that a little bit of that has helped my game in a sense over the years.
Yeah, great points. Absolutely. Yep. All right, clip 3. Let me run it twice and then I will go slow-mo on it. Okay, so this is a strong side drive from Terrell. Okay, there's the primary defender here. This needs to be Terrell's defender, right? And we have a clear secondary defender. And if we'll back up to the secondary defender, that is behind the post player, that then slides over, and we have a block charge play here. Okay, so a couple things I'll go over, and I'll keep it short and want some others to jump in. All right. Or I'll just leave like, do we like a whistle coming from Terrell as a single whistle? Would we like lead to be more active and get this play earlier, or would we like a double on it, or anybody else? Somebody new. What are we seeing on this one? I won't take it.
Wasn't that coming from centers?
I'm sorry.
Primary?
I'm sorry. You're
Not
right.
Trail.
He looked like Terrell. Apologies. Sorry. Yeah, center. You're right. Sorry. These are Seaside Drive. Correct. My bad. What do you have on this, Patrick?
Well, I haven't seen the full clip, but I'm hoping he's calling a charge in this case.
I don't even want to get into judgment on this one right away, but let's talk about the theme we've been talking about. Whose whistle, positioning, those type of things.
Oh, look, it's tough. It's coming from C's primary, as he has half of the lane to cover. Now the lead to me is looking through paint, but however, what our discussion talked about earlier, you got to line up primary defenders, secondary defenders.
Keep going. You're on the right track.
So I'm looking at that is primary defender for the center there, the guy who took the charge. And no, I stand corrected on that. I'm not even following the primary defender for the defense, who's number 15, I think it states.
Yeah, 10 or 15. I think it's 10.
Okay,
I think
yeah.
this is 10. This 15. Yeah, 10 is right here with the red shoes.
Okay. Yeah, so
That's-
15, the guy with the red shoes is obviously the primary defender for center to watch. And the secondary defender would be number 10, the guy who took the charge.
Okay. Right. Anybody anything different? Everybody.
We're in transition on this play, correct?
Not really.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's transition play. I'm fine with that. But does that change anything based on this play?
I still think, in my personal opinion, I mean, I could kind of like a double whistle there, but I still think that the lead, he's got good position. When you look at the secondary defender, all he does is follow the secondary defender over. Now, whether or not he's actually looking at the second defender might be another story, but he's got good position. I can see a double whistle coming here just because it's a transition play. Yeah.
All right. We're getting overcomplicated. Let's keep it simple. Primary defender is center drive, primary defender. Okay. The secondary defender is in Lee's primary. Lee gets to the end line. They get there. It may be a different story if Lee doesn't get there. Lee gets to the end line, has that defender all the way. It's a secondary defender, and they slide over. Lee's going to have this player. They're going to have where they started, when they ended up. They have all the information. This is a secondary defender on C side. This is where the confusion was when we talked about the diagram with that cuts in half. But there's a primary defender. We'll have a transition play later that will touch on a C side driver transition. This is Lead's secondary defender. Now, I think what happens is Lead eyes follow the ball. I think Johnny had said something like you weren't sure if they were looking at it. I think they follow the ball. And we should have had a whistle from Lead first, a cadence from Trail. And I think I'm sorry, center. I keep saying Trail. I'm sorry, center. Don't blow right away. I think they're pretty patient on it, but Lead, we need to be more aggressive at Lead. We need to take care of our primary and take care of our plays. It would be better if we came from Lead, but center does have it. Based on the play, I'll get in judgment on this. I think it's a good call. I truly believe this is a block, and a lot of people that I sent to had said the same thing. I'm not sure if center could see the movement, but Lee definitely could if we referee that play. They're airborne and they continue to step forward. And we talked about being able to obtain it. That was clearly on the rules that we talked about. They can go lateral, obliquely retreat. Doesn't say retreat, but we can do that. You can't step forward. Airborne shooter steps into that offensive player. We have a block. Okay, that's the coverage on this one. And obviously, we didn't quite get the coverage correct on this play. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mark, this is Patrick again. I see and hear your discussion on it, which sounds great. When you look at the diagram on page 74, 519, primary coverage in front court, what you're saying is, I understand it, but okay. Wow, it's if you were to read that book and see the manual, you go, wow, that comes right out of center's territory because he has half of the lane where that play originated from. I could easily see how center could easily take that one and go, I'm following the book on that one. But you're right, get on the discussion and you have we have to get secondary defenders, primary defenders. That's the kicker.
Can I help Patrick out, Mark?
Sure.
Please.
Hey, Patrick, when you're looking at that diagram, remember that first word. The first word is primary coverage area. Primary.
Correct. Primary,
so when we're talking about primary coverage area, we're talking about primary defenders. Okay? So when we're talking about primary defenders, if that defender that was trailing him, who was the primary defender, makes illegal contact, pushing, whatever, that's the center's call.
That would be the center's call, correct?
Because it's a secondary, not the primary, that's the reason why it becomes someone else's call. Because
Gotcha.
it's not the primary defender. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it certainly does. And that's the whole key of our discussion today, which like Matthew alluded to, only 37 people are hearing this and the other 200 are not. And that's going to be troubling when you're on the court, because you're right. You're going to have
And
some
again,
people, oh, that's coming from my primary. That's my call all the way.
we're not advocating not putting a whistle on that from C. What we're saying
Right.
is just have a cadence whistle. That tells me you understand the system.
Correct.
If you're the primary on that play, that's telling me you don't understand the system. You don't have a good understanding of the system. So the system says that I don't think the league gets that right if he has to make that call from there, because I think the only thing that you can see on that play, the C has a good look at the guy's chest going into the shooter. So I think we ended up, we were kind of lucky on that play.
Can I add something different on that?
Sure.
Just in what Kenny was saying, as far as cadence, if trail or C is blown on contact, they're probably blowing too soon. And I think that's what we're trying to get at. And that will help you with your cadence process. Like I said, been long enough to do either one, but if you want to do cadence, you don't want to blow on contact. You want to give yourself a count or a clap. It's kind of like primary, secondary. That's the cadence. All right, and then you can come in with the cadence whistle. The other point I wanted to bring up on this play, I'm not getting into judgment, but as far as terminology, remember that a defender that's taking a charge can brace up, which causes his foot to come together to brace for the contact. And I know you said he moved forward, so if he moved forward, then of course, he's broken rule 1. He's not legal. But
Correct.
remember, there is a brace up that can occur to take the contact. So don't get caught up with the player moves to brace up for the contact. Just wanted to add that.
They just can't move forward though.
Exactly, and that's what you
Right.
said earlier, which makes it a blocking foul.
Yep.
The only one that can really see that is the person who should be taking the play, who is lead. And if you look at C, he's got to look through 2 or 3 players and then say, "Oh, I know he's there or not." This play it's got to be lead. This is how it goes. It's got to be lead. If he doesn't blow, then I come and get it. But somebody has to blow on this play. Somebody. This is when trail comes in. Nobody blows. I come in last and say, "Hey, something has to be done on this play. We can't have a no call on it."
Yep. I agree. All right, let's go. Last one. Transition. So I know we got some confusion on if this is a transition play. This is clearly a transition play, okay? So there's that. We have a double on it. I have my opinion on that, but I'll give a couple of things and then we'll go in, okay? So transition play, we talked about this on the slide. The play is in transition, obviously, all players, secondary defenders. It originates on center side, it stays on center side, okay? Then we have the block charge play. We look at lead. Lead does not make it to the end line, okay? This is lead's look on the contact. 2 players on the backside, looking through 3 players, trying to figure out what happened here, okay? Center does a very good job of understanding it's their primary and there's a double and they have all the information. They've had this defender for how long? And I even, you watch the center's eyes. Right here, they shift here. They have that defender already. They have awareness of the offense and they have awareness of the defense. They're going straight to that defender. They have them the longest. Double whistle, my play, only my play, and we end up having to play a control foul, which is the correct call. This is a totally different coverage than we're talking about everything else when we're talking about secondary defenders. If it's seaside drive and a secondary defender, this is different. Okay, this is something that we have to pregame. I think at times that we want lead to have it because it happens in the paint. And even if lead was on the end line, this is still center's play based on that it originates on their side and it's their defender all the way. They have to play the longest. They're going to have all the information. Our call accuracy is going to be way higher if we yield to lead on this. So Don't really like the double whistle, but if you have it, understanding what is your play and what's not, I really like what C does, ends up taking this play. And the bottom line is what we say about is want to get plays right. And it's really nice when we get the play right from the correct official. I know there was a stat, the NBA, I think is when they come out of their primaries, they're the best referees in the world. When they come out of their primaries, they're 70% wrong. That's scary. That's scary. So I can imagine we're probably 99% wrong. That was a joke, by the way. But yeah, this is a Seaside transition. Anybody want to add to it? Or any confusion, or we understand it, we're good? Again, they have to be pregame. Yep, good point, Reggie. Find your partners, absolutely, yep. Yeah, and it is a tough play, Marshall, I agree, it is. It's not a clear-cut player control foul, right? But they try to sidestep them, don't get the head and shoulders past. It's not a slip play. I mean, the defender does nothing wrong. She guesses correctly. The offense tries to, Euro step to her left. She's there. She's legal. Takes it in the torso. She's good. Was illegal from the jump. She obtained it. Moved lateral. Didn't come forward. That's my personal opinion. I believe this is a really good play control foul. Go ahead.
Hey, Mark, dialogue on how the Euro step, and I'm just going to put it in the question phase, how the Euro step either plays a role in a block charge or does not play a role in the block charge. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So obviously when kids, and I think it's the most overused move in the world today. I just know why kids just can't go to school. I ain't teaching no dang Euro steps, even though I'm from Europe. I think it's overused a lot, but obviously the purpose of Euro step is to get by a defender laterally, not going straight through them, right? So obviously this is a good opportunity to probably try to use it. She's caught up with the other two. But in the Euro step is obviously it's the same footwork as a regular layup. They're just trying to go either left or right. So she is trying to obviously avoid contact. If she's able to avoid contact and get her head and shoulders past this defender, then the onus and responsibilities on the defender. That does not occur. So you also have to be, and we talked about refereeing the defense, but having awareness of the offense. You need to know that. And they call them slip plays. That's just a terminology used, but a Euro step or whatever, they're trying to sidestep by them. That you have to understand that rule as well. Because if they do get past the defender and there's contact, then the responsibility, almost done, is on the defender. Okay? This is our last clip. My wife just came in. Marshall, want to add to that? Anything else? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, what I wanted to press on is go back to what you guys talked about in the beginning. Whether they Euro step or not, or change step, if that player's on the floor and they've been there, that is their position on the floor, no matter what happens. It could just be an ugly play because once again, you have to ask yourself, is the defender legal or not? And what did they do wrong? And if they Euro step or whatever you want to call it, change step, change direction, whatever you want to call it, how can you put a foul on the defender that has not done anything wrong and they're entitled to that spot on the floor? That's
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, I mean, she didn't do anything wrong. I thought you were alluding to that if they do Euro step and they get past them, then that's different. Maybe I was going in a different direction as far as that.
Now, what I was getting at is if you Euro step, you can't use the explanation that they tried to avoid the contact, that's why it's a block. Because we hear that a lot. And that really has nothing to do with the explanation of whether it's a block or charge or not. It's whether that defender is legal or not. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Absolutely right. Yep. Okay. Any questions? Anything else? We're going to close. If you feel like we needed another one, we can. I try to get different clips from these all this season except the last one. I think it was from last season, but these are happening like daily, like this season it's been going on. So I wanted to try to get some different block charge plays as far as the ones that we're seeing. I'm glad Reggie said that. Don't get caught up in just secondary defenders or block charge plays. That's a really good point because I think that's what we do. We pregame so much secondary defenders. It's not. It could be verticality plays, like I said, or help defenders hit to the arms, those point of contact fouls, those type of things. So yeah, don't just think lead is responsible for block charge secondary defenders. You're responsible for secondary defenders, whatever it is that they're doing. For the 36 that are on here, just go share this information. You got games coming up. Most of you are crew chiefs on here. I would expect you to be doing it. And if you're not, then you need to start bringing these up in your pre-games because I was hoping that a referee would say, hey, do you have anything? Sure hope that they were saying that to you, and don't be the referee. I learned the hard way. Oh no, nothing. I have nothing. That was a great pregame. And then I got my butt chewed out. Like, no, don't ever do that. You need to come with something. So every game I go to, if I'm not the crew chief, I have something in the back of my head, and you always got to have one thing to bring to your pregame. So here's one for you. If we're not bringing up secondary defenders, coverages, seaside, I mean, I can imagine no one is talking about center side drives, transition block charge plays. I'm sure we're not talking about that enough. So there's one for you right there. You can always bring that one up. Okay. Appreciate you guys. The not many that jumped on. I wish we did have 200 or whatever, but I'm not worried. I'm worried about the ones that want to invest in themselves. Thank you for all the other veterans for jumping on and giving great information. I appreciate it. This is recorded, so I'll throw it up on YouTube. You can go back. I'll get the presentation to Diana and Marvin to get to you guys, or some division reps. We'll get it out, and then we'll try to do this next Sunday. All right. So again, and thanks for everybody for joining. And the information is great, and we're getting better, and that's all I care about. Ken, you want anything?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yep. Was it? Stay positive, test negative, y'all. Have a good night. Take care.